Captain Thelvara stood on the bridge of his merchant ship, the brightness of dawn. His translucent skin glowed softly under the dim lights. He was Nivian, a species that lived on low-gravity worlds with gentle suns. His bones were hollow like a bird's, and his body was light. Even a strong push could break his ribs. Today should have been a normal day. His ship carried simple trade goods between peaceful worlds. The Nivian people never knew war. They never needed weapons. The Galactic Council kept everyone safe. But today was different. "Captain," his sensor officer's voice shook with fear. 20 ships just appeared. They're not traders. Thelvara felt his 3 hearts beat faster. On the main screen, he saw them. 20 dark vessels with sharp edges and heavy armor. Pirates. The Kresh. The Kresh were raiders from a heavier world than his own. They had 4 arms, thick muscles, and no mercy. To peaceful species like the Nivians, the Kresh were monsters from nightmares. "They're charging weapons," the sensor officer said. Thelvara's hands shook. "Send a distress call to the council." "Already sent, Captain, but help won't arrive for 3 days. 3 days. They had maybe 3 hours before the Kresh boarded their ship. Priya, his young communications officer, searched desperately through their databases. "Captain, I found something. An old emergency frequency. It's marked as Earth High Threat Classification." "High threat?" Thelvara asked. "Yes, sir. The file says they have military capabilities. Maybe they can help." Thelvara knew nothing about Earth. The name was unfamiliar, but what choice did he have? The Kresh were coming. "Send the distress call," he ordered. Priya's fingers moved across her console. She broadcast their location and situation on the frequency. Then they waited. On the Kresh flagship, War Leader Kratch smiled with all 4 of his arms crossed. The Nivian ship was perfect prey. Weak hull, no weapons, valuable cargo. His crew would feast well tonight. "Prepare boarding parties," he ordered. 23 light-years away, Fleet Admiral Jinho sat in his command chair aboard the carrier Indomitable. He was running training exercises with his fleet. 7 human warships practiced combat maneuvers far from Earth. "Admiral, we're receiving a distress call," said Lieutenant Doyen at Communications. Jinho straightened. "Put it through." The message was clear. A civilian vessel under attack. Pirates. Innocent. Lives in danger. Commander Yuna stood beside him. She was his second in command, smart and careful. "Sir, the signal is coming from Galactic Council space. We're not supposed to enter their territory." Jinho looked at her. His dark eyes were steady. "People are dying, Commander." "Yes, sir." "Then we go. Signal the fleet. We jump in 30 minutes. The crew moved fast. Humans were good at moving fast. They trained for it. Their bodies, built for Earth's strong gravity, could handle rapid acceleration that would crush other species. Back on the brightness of dawn, things got worse. The Kresh ships surrounded them. Warning shots hit their shields. "Shields at 40%, the sensor officer reported. His voice cracked with terror. Then the first boarding pod hit their hull. The metal screamed as Kresh-cutting tools burned through. "They're coming inside," Priya whispered. The bridge doors burst open. 3 Kresh warriors entered. Each one stood over 2 meters tall with thick armor and massive weapons. To the Nivians, they looked impossible to fight. "All of you down on the floor," the lead Kresh growled. Thelvara and his crew had no choice. They lay down. One of his crew members, a young engineer, moved too slowly. A Kresh warrior grabbed him and threw him against the wall. The Nivian screamed as 3 of his ribs broke from the simple throw. "Weak things!" the Kresh laughed. Thelvara felt hopeless. The distress call to Earth had gone unanswered. The Council was too far away. His crew would die here or be sold as slaves. Then space itself seemed to tear apart. The brightness of Dawn's computers started screaming. Sensor alerts filled every screen with red warnings. 7 massive energy signatures appeared in the system. On the main view screen, Thelvara saw something impossible. 7 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. But the way they arrived was wrong. Normal ships slowed down gently. These ships hit normal space at violent speeds, using massive engine burns to slow down. The energy release was enormous. "What are those?" Priya breathed. Thelvara checked his computer with shaking hands. The database matched the ships. "Earth Defense Force," he read aloud. "Class 12 Deathworld. Warning: extreme environmental hostility. Gravity, 1.0 G. Atmospheric pressure, 101 kilopascals. Oxygen concentration, 21%. Species classification, pursuit predator." Each word made his fear grow. A death world was a planet so dangerous that most species couldn't survive there. Class 12 was the highest rating, and pursuit predators were the most dangerous type of hunter. What had he called to his rescue? On the Indomitable's bridge, Jinho studied the tactical display. 20 pirate ships, 1 damaged civilian vessel. Boarding action in progress. "Commander Yuna, standard dispersal pattern Delta," he ordered. "Should we try talking to them first?" asked young Lieutenant Doyen. "I sent a universal stand-down warning 15 seconds ago," Jinho said calmly. "They're still shooting the civilian ship. That's enough talk." Aboard the Kresh flagship, War Leader Kratch stared at the human vessels. His tactical officer showed him the readings. "They're smaller than our ships," Kratch said, "and slow. Heavy armor but clumsy." His tactical officer looked worried. "War Leader, their power readings are strange. The computer says their reactors are producing impossible energy levels. Sensors are broken. Fire on them." The Kresh railguns fired. Solid metal projectiles flew at speeds that could destroy any normal ship. They hit the human destroyer Daejeon directly. The Daejeon didn't even slow down. Small scratches appeared on its armor. Nothing more. Captain Minho commanded the Daejeon. He looked at the damage report and shrugged. "Barely a scratch. Return fire. Use railguns, not missiles. Keep it fair." The Daejeon's main guns fired. 3 Kresh ships exploded. Just gone. Torn apart by weapons so powerful they defied understanding. Kratch stared in horror. 1 shot, 3 ships destroyed. What were these humans? "All ships, retreat!" he screamed. But it was too late. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Their ships pulled acceleration that should be impossible. They fired weapons that hit with relativistic speeds. In 6 minutes, half the Kresh fleet was destroyed or disabled. The other half ran away into faster-than-light speed. Jinho's voice filled all communication channels. "This is Fleet Admiral Jinho of Earth Defense Force. All hostile vessels will power down weapons and engines now. If you don't, we will destroy you." The surviving Kresh ships surrendered immediately. On the brightness of dawn, the Kresh warriors guarding the bridge suddenly looked terrified. One of them collapsed, his hearts failing from pure shock. Thelvara's computer chimed with a new message. It was from his government. The message was marked urgent. "You contacted Earth," the message said. "What have you done? The Council is meeting in emergency session. Do not let the humans reach Council space. They are quarantined for a reason." Thelvara looked at the human ships on his view screen. They had saved his life, but his government was terrified of them. What kind of species had he called for help? Lieutenant Sora checked her equipment one last time. Her boarding team was ready to enter the civilian ship. She was young, only 25, and small for a human woman at 165 centimeters tall. But her combat armor made her look bigger and more threatening. "Remember," she told her team, "these are civilians. They've been through trauma. Be gentle." Her squad nodded. They approached the airlock of the brightness of dawn. Inside the Nivian ship, Thelvara watched the airlock door with fear. He had seen what human weapons could do to Kresh warships. What would they do to his fragile crew? The airlock opened with a hiss. Lieutenant Sora stepped through and removed her helmet. She wanted the aliens to see her face, to know she was trying to be friendly. The Nivians recoiled in terror. Sora had a human face. Her eyes pointed forward like a predator's eyes. Her jaw was strong and muscled, built for chewing meat. When she smiled, trying to be friendly, her teeth showed. Flat teeth for grinding plants, sharp teeth for tearing flesh. An omnivore's teeth. To the Nivians, she looked like death itself. "We're here to help," Sora said. Her translator made the words sound perfect in their language. "Is anyone injured?" Thelvara forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but he was the captain. "3 of my crew have broken bones." Sora looked confused. "Broken bones? What happened? Did the pirates beat them?" They pushed them." "Pushed them?" Sora's confusion grew. "How hard?" "Just normal pushing. Contact." Sora went very still. She understood what this meant. These aliens were so fragile that a simple push could break their bones. She activated her radio. "Medic forward. And everyone be extremely careful. These people are very delicate." Corporal Jinwoo arrived with his medical scanner. He was the team's medic, trained for combat injuries. He scanned the first injured Nivian, and his face went pale. "Lieutenant," he said quietly, "their bone density is less than 1/4 of ours. Their muscles are weak. Ma'am, I could accidentally kill one of these people just by grabbing them wrong." Sora took a deep breath. "Understood. Everyone moves in slow motion. No sudden moves. Treat them like they're made of glass." The human soldiers moved through the ship like they were walking on ice. Every step was careful. Every gesture was slow. One soldier accidentally bumped a wall and left a dent in the metal. The Nivians watched in silent horror. Far away on the Indomitable, Commander Yuna brought a message to Admiral Jinho. It was from the Galactic Council. A hologram appeared in Jinho's ready room. The alien was called Nithala. It breathed methane gas and had to speak through multiple translators. "Admiral Jinho," the alien said, "we appreciate your help, but you are not authorized to be in Council space. You must leave immediately." Jinho leaned back in his chair. "We answered a distress call." "Yes, that was a mistake. We will handle it internally." "A mistake?" Jinho's voice was calm but hard. 20 civilian ships were under attack by pirates. The hologram seemed uncomfortable. "Admiral, you must understand. When Earth was surveyed 50 years ago, the Council made a decision. Your species comes from a Class 12 death world. You are not compatible with civilized space." "Civilized?" Commander Yuna said coldly. "Please, Commander, we mean no offense. But look at the facts. Your planet's gravity would crush most species. Your atmospheric pressure would burst our cells. Your weather would kill us. Your oceans would poison us. And you call it home." Jinho stood up. His full height made the small alien seem tiny. "So we're too dangerous to join your council?" "Not dangerous. Different. Your military power is extreme. 7 ships destroyed a 20-ship fleet in minutes. Do you understand how that looks to us? The Kresh come from a 0.7 G world. You come from a world with almost double that gravity. You're stronger, faster, more resilient, and you developed space travel despite your harsh world. That makes us monsters? No, Admiral. It makes you terrifying. Every species in Council space evolved in gentle conditions. Our wars are small. Your wars have killed hundreds of millions. We must be careful." The transmission ended. Yuna looked at Jinho. "Sir, are we really that scary?" Jinho pulled up comparison data on his screen. He showed her recordings from the Kresh interrogations. The captured pirates were terrified. One kept saying they breathe poison because Earth's oxygen levels were toxic to his species. Another stared at human muscles like they were unnatural. "We're pursuit predators from a high-gravity hell, Yuna," Jinho said quietly. "To them, we're the monsters." Before they could talk more, Lieutenant Hyuk interrupted from the bridge. Admiral, we have multiple contacts. 37 ships just entered the system. The Kresh returning? No, sir. These are Council Enforcement Fleet ships, and they're powering up weapons. Jinho and Yuna rushed to the bridge. The tactical display showed a massive fleet, 37 warships against his 7 ships. The Council fleet was led by High Commander Velthar. He was a Praetorian, one of the few military species in Council space. His people came from a 0.8 G world and prided themselves on being warriors. He had fought in 3 wars and won every battle. He opened a communication channel. Human vessels, you are ordered to surrender. You have violated Quarantine Protocol 7 by entering Council space with military ships. Jinho responded calmly. High Commander, we saved lives. If that's a crime in your space, your laws need to change. Your intentions don't matter. Surrender now. No. The Council fleet moved forward. Every computer said this should be an easy victory. 37 against 7. But Velthar's tactical officer was reading the data from the earlier fight with the Kresh. His face showed growing fear. High Commander, we should be very careful. The human weapons are far more powerful than our models predicted. I see the data. It must be wrong. Continue forward. On the Indomitable, Yuna coordinated with the human fleet. All ships, Defensive Formation Gamma, activate point defense systems. If they shoot, we respond. Jinho added, Try not to kill anyone. These aren't pirates. They're just scared. A nervous gunner on a Council frigate panicked. He fired his plasma cannon at the Indomitable. The plasma bolt hit the human carrier's shield. The shield barely noticed. Jinho sighed. Return fire. Target engines only. Commander Yuna, show them what real fear looks like. The human fleet began to fight. Captain Minho on the Daejeon executed a combat turn that pulled 8 Gs of force. His ship spun on a vector that should be impossible. Every Council officer watching felt sick just from seeing it. Their bodies couldn't handle more than 4 Gs without passing out. The Indomitable launched what looked like missiles. They weren't. They were simple metal rods made of tungsten, but they were accelerated to incredible speeds. One rod hit a Council battleship's shield. The shield tried to stop it. The kinetic energy converted to heat and light. A flash of energy blinded every sensor in the system. When the sensors reset, the battleship was spinning, powerless. Its engine section was just gone. Lieutenant Sora, flying a fighter escort, chased 3 Council interceptors. The alien fighters were faster and more agile, but Sora pulled 12 G turns. Her vision darkened at the edges, even with her special suit helping her. The Council pilots had to break away. Any more than 4 Gs, and they would black out or die. Velthar watched his fleet get torn apart, but the humans weren't destroying ships. They were disabling them, targeting engines, weapons, shields. They were being careful not to kill. That somehow made it worse. How are they doing this? Velthar asked. His science officer had been running calculations. Sir, their ships are built to operate in 1 G gravity. Their hull plating is designed to withstand Earth's atmospheric pressure as a normal load. Their engines compensate for their planet's gravity. Everything about them is overbuilt by our standards. And their crews? They're pulling maneuvers that would kill us instantly. Their bones, muscles, hearts, everything is adapted for survival in conditions we would call lethal. Sir, they're not better fighters. They're just built for a harder world. But humans weren't invincible. On the destroyer, Busan, an enemy hit caused an engine failure. Radiation alarms screamed. Engineering Chief Nari stayed at her post, manually rerouting power to keep shields protecting the civilian refugees they had rescued. Nari, evacuate, Captain Taeyang ordered. Not until the civilians are safe, sir, she said. Her hand stayed steady even as her radiation badge turned black. She saved them. The shields held. The civilians lived. Nari did not. 20 Council ships drifted, disabled. The humans had 1 destroyer damaged, but all crew evacuated. Velthar opened a channel. Admiral Jinho, we surrender! We accept. Power down your weapons. We'll help your wounded. You're helping us? We're not monsters, Commander. A new transmission arrived from the Galactic Council's high chambers. Admiral Jinho, you are summoned to Council Station. The full Council will hear Earth's petition. You have proven many things today. Some we feared. Some we didn't expect. We were wrong to leave you alone. What we must decide now is whether we were wrong to fear you. 1 week later, Admiral Jinho and Commander Yuna stood in the Grand Chamber of Council Station Prime. The room was enormous, designed to hold representatives from 143 different species. Environmental fields separated each section because different species breathed different gases and needed different temperatures. Yuna whispered to Jinho, "I feel like an animal in a zoo." "You're not wrong," Jinho whispered back. All around them, aliens stared. Some had multiple eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Some were tiny, the size of cats. Others were huge but light, their bodies adapted for low gravity. And all of them looked at the two humans with fear or curiosity or both. Council Prime Speaker Nathos floated in a special field at the center of the chamber. He was ancient, from a 0.3G world. The station's normal gravity would crush him without the field supporting his body. "Admiral Jinho of Earth, Commander Yuna," Nathos said. His voice came through translators. "You stand before this council not as criminals, but as a question we must answer. For 50 years we kept Earth isolated. We said it was for safety. Today we must decide if that was wisdom or fear." High Commander Velthar was present. His arm was in a medical cast from when his ship was disabled. He stood and spoke. "Prime Speaker, I fought these humans. They are everything our report said. Stronger, faster, tougher. Their technology is brutal. Their tactics are ruthless." He paused and looked at Jinho. "And yet they showed mercy. They protected civilians. One of them died to save people who had just called them monsters. I don't understand them." Nathos gestured to Jinho. "You may speak, Admiral." Jinho stepped forward. "You call Earth a death world. You're right. Our planet has tried to kill us since we first existed. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, predators, diseases, ice ages. Earth doesn't care if we live or die. So we learn to be tough. We learn to adapt. We learn to protect each other because if we didn't, we would all die." He looked around the huge chamber. "You think that makes us violent. Maybe it does. But it also taught us something you seem to have forgotten. Strength exists to protect those who are weak." A council member from a water world spoke up. "Beautiful words, Admiral, but you destroyed a pirate fleet in minutes. You disabled our enforcement fleet in less than an hour. How can we trust that power?" Before Jinho could answer, Captain Thelvara entered the chamber. The small, fragile Nivian looked out of place among all the other species. "May I speak?" Thelvara asked. "Captain Thelvara," Nathos said, "you sent the distress call that started all of this. Why are you here?" "To tell the truth." Thelvara's voice was quiet but steady. "I called the humans because I misunderstood the warning labels. I thought high threat meant they were good at fighting. I was wrong. Humans are very dangerous." Worried sounds came from around the chamber. "But," Thelvara continued, "I watched Lieutenant Sora spend 6 hours carefully moving debris off my injured crew. She moved slowly because her normal strength would break their bones. I watched Corporal Jinwoo cry when he couldn't save one of my people because their body was too fragile for his medicine. I watched Admiral Jinho refuse to shoot at ships that were attacking him until he had no choice." He looked directly at the council. "Yes, they are predators. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are everything you fear. But they are also the most gentle beings I have ever met with people they could hurt. That's not weakness. That's what real strength looks like." "What do you suggest, Captain?" Nathos asked. "Invite them. Not as full members, they're too different. But as allies, as protectors. The Council has kept peace for 1,000 years because we had no real threats. But that's not strength. That's just luck. The Kresh pirates prove that. When real danger comes, we have no answer. And you think humans are that answer? I think humans know how to survive things that can't be survived. We could learn from that. The Council debated for hours. Jinho and Yuna stood and waited. Some Council members argued for keeping Earth isolated forever. Others wanted humans to join immediately. Still others wanted only a military alliance. Representatives from prey species were especially scared. One representative, a small rabbit-like creature, spoke with a trembling voice. How can we trust pursuit predators? Their ancestors hunted. They chased prey until it couldn't run anymore. That instinct is still in them. Yuna surprised everyone by answering, You're right. We are pursuit predators. Our ancestors hunted. But do you know what else our ancestors did? They protected their young. They cared for their sick. They shared food with the weak. Yes, we can hunt, but we choose not to. That's what makes us different from simple animals. We choose. Another council member spoke. But your wars. You've killed so many of your own people. Jinho nodded. Yes, we have. Earth is a hard world. It made us hard. We fought each other for resources, for land, for survival. But we also learned from those wars. We learned that fighting each other was stupid. We learned that working together made us all stronger. It took us a long time to learn that lesson. Many humans died teaching us, but we learned. And what if you decide to use that power against us? Another representative asked. Then stop us, Jinho said simply. You have 143 species in this council. We are one. If we become a threat, you have the numbers to stop us. But I don't think you'll need to, because Earth taught us something important. The strong should protect the weak, not because they have to, not because they get something from it, but because it's the right thing to do. A reptilian representative from a desert world spoke. I have studied human history. You had an empire called Rome. They said they brought peace, but they conquered many people. You're right, Jinho admitted. We've made mistakes, many mistakes, but we learned from them. Every human child learns about those empires. We teach them about what happens when the strong abuse the weak. We teach them so they won't repeat those mistakes. And you trust your children to remember those lessons? The reptilian asked. We trust them enough to give them the same weapons we have. Yes, some humans are bad. Some abuse their power, but most don't. Most humans just want to live, to protect their families, to help others. That's why we have laws. That's why we have accountability. No human is above consequences. Yuna added. When Engineering Chief Nari died saving the Nivian civilians, she didn't do it because someone ordered her to. She did it because it was right. That's what humans do. When we see someone in danger, we help, even if it costs us. The debate continued. Some council members remained afraid. Others saw opportunity. The chamber filled with voices in hundreds of languages, all discussing the same question. Could humanity be trusted? Finally, after 8 hours, Prime Speaker Nathos called for silence. We will vote, he announced. The motion is this. Shall Earth be invited to join the Galactic Council as an allied member state? They will have full diplomatic recognition but limited expansion rights while we study integration. All in favor? The chamber lit up with voting indicators. Green lights for yes, red lights for no. The count appeared on the main display. 89 in favor, 54 against. The motion passes, Nathos declared. Earth is hereby recognized as an allied member state of the Galactic Council. Some representatives cheered. Others sat in worried silence. Jinho and Yuna stood still, not sure how to react. Nathos spoke directly to them. Admiral Jinho, Commander Yuna, your people will be watched closely. Many here still fear you. Some may never trust you, but you will have your chance to prove yourselves. That's all we ask, Jinho said. As they left the chamber, Velthar approached them. The Praetorian warrior looked different now, less hostile, more curious. "Admiral," Velthar said, "I would like to request something." "What is it, Commander?" "I would like to train with your forces, to learn how you fight, how you think." Jinho smiled. "You want to train at 1G?" "If I can survive it, yes." "It won't be easy. Most species can't handle it." "I know. But if I'm going to be an ally of Earth, I should understand what makes you strong." Yuna spoke up. "It's not the gravity, Commander. It's not our weapons or our ships. Those just come from living on a hard world." "Then what is it?" Velthar asked. "It's the choice to use strength for protection instead of domination. That's what makes us who we are." Velthar thought about this. "That is a hard lesson." "The hardest," Jinho agreed, "but it's the most important one." They walked together through the station corridors. Around them, aliens moved carefully out of their way. Some stared with fear, others with curiosity, a few with hope. Yuna said quietly to Jinho, "Do you think this will work?" "I don't know," Jinho admitted. "But Engineering Chief Nari didn't die for nothing. She died proving that humans can be trusted, that we choose to help, even when it costs us everything. If we can show the Council that, if we can show them who we really are, then maybe it will work." "And if it doesn't?" Jinho looked out a viewport at the stars. "Then at least we tried. At least we showed them that Deathworlders can be more than their fears." That's worth something. 6 months would pass before Earth's first embassy opened on Council Station Prime, but the seed was planted. The question was answered. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy. Now came the harder part, proving they deserved to be there. 3 months after the Council vote, Ambassador Hana arrived at Council Station Prime. She was Earth's first official representative to the Galactic Council. At 42 years old, she had experience with difficult negotiations on Earth. But nothing had prepared her for this. The station gave her a small office in the diplomatic section. It was designed for species from low-gravity worlds. Everything was fragile. The furniture couldn't support her weight. The doors were too weak for her to open normally. She had to push very gently, or the mechanisms would break. "This will be interesting," she said to her assistant, Bora. Bora was younger, only 27, and optimistic. "At least they gave us an office. That's progress." "Progress," Hana agreed. But she noticed how other diplomats avoided the human section, how conversations stopped when she walked by, how security guards watched her constantly. Earth was allowed in the Council, but they weren't welcomed. Not yet. The first real test came 2 weeks later. A Council member species called the Vren requested Earth's help. Their colony on the edge of Council space was having problems with their mining equipment. The machines kept breaking down in the planet's high gravity. "High gravity?" Hana asked when she read the request. "How high?" 0.6 G, Bora read from the file. Hana almost laughed. 0.6 G was high gravity to the Council species. To humans, it was barely noticeable. Earth was 1.0 G. "Send a team," Hana ordered, "and make sure they're careful. We need to make a good impression." Engineer Tyke led the human team to the Vren colony. He brought 5 specialists with him. They were all excited. This was humanity's first official mission for the Council. When they arrived, the Vren colony administrator met them. He was tall and thin, his body adapted for low gravity. He looked at the humans with obvious nervousness. "Thank you for coming," the administrator said. "Our mining equipment is designed for 0.4 G maximum. At 0.6 G, the stress is too much. Everything breaks." Tyke looked at the broken machines. To human eyes, they were incredibly fragile. Thin materials, weak joints, built for worlds where gravity barely existed. "We can fix this," Tyke said. "But we'll need to redesign some components." "How long will that take?" 3 days. The Vren administrator's eyes widened. 3 days. Our own engineers said 6 months. Our engineers are used to working in 1.0G, Tayek explained. This is easy for us. The human team worked fast. They reinforced weak points. They replaced fragile materials with stronger ones. They redesigned joints to handle stress. The Vren workers watched in amazement as the humans lifted pieces of equipment that required machines for the Vren to move. One Vren worker asked Tyke, "How are you so strong?" "We're not that strong," Tyke said. "Earth just made us this way. We have to be strong to survive there." "Your planet sounds terrible." Tyke smiled. "It's home." In 2.5 days, the mining equipment was fixed and upgraded. It could now handle 0.8 G if needed. The Vren colony administrator was grateful and amazed. "You've saved our colony," he said. "How can we repay you?" "Just tell people what happened," Tyke said. "Tell them humans helped." Word spread through the council. Earth had completed a task in days that would have taken others months. Some species saw this as proof of human capability. Others saw it as proof of how different and potentially threatening humans were. Back on Council Station, Hana received a more challenging request. The Yalori species wanted help with a crisis. Their homeworld was experiencing earthquakes, not huge ones by Earth standards, but to the Yalori, they were catastrophic. "The quakes are magnitude 4.5, Bora read from the report. 4.5? Hana checked the file again. On Earth, a 4.5 magnitude quake was barely noticed. But the Yalori built their cities for planets that never shook. Their buildings had no earthquake engineering. "We need to send disaster response teams," Hana said. "Do we have the authority for that?" "We're going to find out." Hana went directly to Prime Speaker Nathos. She requested permission to send human emergency response teams to the Yalori homeworld. Nathos was uncertain. "Ambassador Hana, the Yalori are very delicate, even more fragile than the Nivians. Your people might accidentally hurt them." "Then our people will be extra careful," Hana said. "But right now, the Yalori are dying. We have experience with earthquakes. We can help." "Very well. But any incident will reflect badly on Earth." "Understood." Emergency Response Coordinator Inho led a team of 20 specialists to the Yalori homeworld. They brought equipment designed for Earth's harsh conditions. To the Yalori, the human equipment looked impossibly rugged. The scene was chaos. Yalori buildings had collapsed. The delicate aliens were trapped under rubble that weighed almost nothing by human standards, but was deadly to them. Inho's team moved carefully through the destruction. Each human wore special soft gloves. They stepped lightly. They spoke quietly to avoid startling the traumatized Yalori. "Over here," called rescue specialist Minji. She had found a Yalori trapped under a fallen wall section. To her, it weighed maybe 10 kilograms. She lifted it easily with one hand while pulling the Yalori free with the other. The rescued Yalori stared at her. "You lifted that yourself?" "Yes," Minji said gently. "Are you hurt?" "My leg is broken." The human medics arrived. They had studied Yalori physiology carefully. Their touches were feather-light. They stabilized the broken leg with equipment designed for beings as delicate as birds. Over 3 days, the human team rescued 847 Yalori from collapsed buildings. They taught local teams how to safely clear rubble. They showed them how to reinforce structures for future quakes. Inho held a meeting with Yalori engineers. "You need to design your buildings differently. Earth has technology for this. We can share it with you." "But our buildings are beautiful," one engineer protested. "Your earthquake engineering is so heavy." "It's also safe," Inho said. "Beauty doesn't matter if the building falls on people." The Yalori were grateful but also uncomfortable. Human efficiency was frightening to them. The idea that beings could just lift rubble by hand, could work for days without tiring, could survive in conditions that would kill Yalori, It was hard to accept. Back on Council Station, the responses were mixed. Some council members praised Earth's actions. The Yalori ambassador publicly thanked humanity for saving lives. The Vren spread stories about how helpful humans were. But others grew more worried. A group of council members approached Hana in the diplomatic halls. "Ambassador Hana," their spokesman said, "we appreciate Earth's help, but you must understand our concern. Your people can do in days what takes us months. You're so much stronger than us. How do we know you won't use that against us?" Hana had expected this. "Would it help if I explained human history?" "Please." "Humans weren't always united," Hana said. "For most of our history, we fought each other. We had hundreds of nations, we warred constantly. But do you know what finally united us? Not conquest, not empire. It was choice. We chose to work together because we realized we were stronger that way. But you could still choose violence. Any species could. But look at what we've actually done. We answered a distress call to save the Nivians. We helped the Vren fix their equipment. We rescued Yalori from earthquakes. In every case, we could have taken advantage. We didn't. Because that's not who we are." Another council member spoke. "But your capabilities are terrifying. You must see that." "I do," Hana admitted. "Earth made us tough because it had to. But Earth also taught us compassion. When you live on a world that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to value life. You learn to protect others. That's the real lesson of being from a death world." The conversation ended uncomfortably. Some council members seemed reassured. Others clearly weren't. That evening, Hana met with Yuna, who had remained on Council Station as military liaison. They sat in the human embassy's common room, one of the few places on the station built to human standards. "How bad is it?" Yuna asked. "Mixed," Hana said. "We're proving we can help. But that also proves how different we are. Some species will never trust us. So, what do? We keep helping. We keep showing them who we are. Eventually, either they'll accept us or they won't. But at least we'll know we tried." Yuna looked out the viewport at the station. Hundreds of alien ships docked there. Thousands of species living together. "Do you think we'll ever really belong here?" "I think we're already changing things," Hana said. "The Vren are redesigning their equipment using human principles. The Yalori are rebuilding with earthquake engineering. We're not just helping them, we're teaching them that it's possible to be stronger." "Is that good?" "I don't know, but it's honest. We can't pretend to be weaker than we are. All we can do is show them that strength doesn't have to mean danger." The next morning, Hana received an urgent message. It wasn't a request for help this time. It was a warning. Pirates were attacking trade routes again. The Kresh had regrouped. They were raiding colony worlds on the Outer Rim, and the Galactic Council's enforcement fleet couldn't stop them. The message ended with a simple question. Will Earth help? Hana looked at the message for a long time. This was different from helping with earthquakes or fixing machines. This was military action. This was exactly what the Council feared about humans. But colonies were being attacked. People were dying. She composed a response. "Yes, we'll help." As she sent it, she wondered if this would be the action that finally convinced the Council that humans could be trusted. Or if it would be the thing that made them fear humanity forever. Admiral Jinho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable once again. 3 months had passed since the Council vote. 3 months of humanity trying to prove itself through peaceful actions. And now, war had returned. "Status report," Jinho ordered. Commander Yuna reviewed the tactical data. "The Kresh have attacked 6 colony worlds in the past 2 weeks. The Council enforcement fleet engaged them twice and lost both battles. Casualties are estimated at 15,000 civilians. And the Council wants our help?" "They're desperate, sir. High Commander Velthar specifically requested you. Jinho thought about this. The Council feared human military power. Now they needed it. This would either prove humanity could be trusted or confirm their worst fears. Assemble the fleet. We deploy in 6 hours. The human fleet consisted of 12 ships now. Earth had sent reinforcements. As they prepared to jump to the combat zone, Jinho addressed all crews. Everyone understands the situation. The Council is watching us. If we're too aggressive, they'll call us monsters. If we hold back and people die, they'll call us useless. We have to find the balance. We protect lives. We stop the pirates. But we do it the human way, with precision and restraint. Lieutenant Sora, now promoted to Commander of Fighter Operations, asked the important question. Sir, what if the Kresh don't surrender this time? Then we disable them. We don't destroy unless we have no choice. The fleet jumped to the Vren system, where the Kresh were currently attacking a mining colony. It was the same colony that Engineer Tyke had helped months before. When the human ships arrived, they found chaos. 8 Kresh warships bombarded the colony from orbit. The Council Enforcement Fleet, only 4 ships, was trying to defend but failing badly. This is Admiral Jinho to all Kresh vessels. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. The Kresh response was to fire on the Indomitable. Return fire, Jinho ordered. Precision strikes on weapons and engines only. The battle was fast and brutal. The Kresh had learned from their previous encounter. They had studied human tactics. They tried to stay mobile, to use hit-and-run attacks. It didn't help. Captain Minho on the Daejeon matched every Kresh maneuver. They're faster than before, he reported, but still predictable, firing. The human railguns spoke. 3 Kresh ships lost their engines in the first salvo. Commander Sora led her fighter wing in a complex weaving pattern. The Kresh tried to target her but couldn't match her acceleration. She disabled 2 more ships by targeting their weapon batteries. But then, something changed. 1 Kresh ship broke formation and dove toward the colony. It was accelerating on a collision course with the main settlement. He's going to ram the colony, Yuna said, her voice tight. Jinho calculated rapidly. The colony shields couldn't stop a ship that size. 3,000 Vren lived in that settlement. They had maybe 90 seconds. Daejeon, intercept course. Full emergency burn. Captain Minho didn't hesitate. His destroyer lit every engine at maximum thrust. The acceleration hit 15 Gs. Minho's vision started to narrow, but he held course. The Daejeon intercepted the Kresh ship 45 seconds before impact. It didn't just disable the ship. At those velocities, it had to destroy it completely. The Kresh ship broke apart. Debris rained down on the colony shields, but the shields held. On the Daejeon, Captain Minho gasped for breath. 2 of his crew had passed out from the G-forces, but the colony was safe. The remaining Kresh ships saw what happened. They saw a human ship willing to risk everything to save an alien colony. They saw precision that bordered on impossible. They surrendered. High Commander Velthar commanded the Council Enforcement Fleet. His ship had taken damage but still functioned. He opened a channel. Admiral Jinho, that was, I have no words. You saved the colony. That's what we came to do, Commander. At great risk to your own crew. Captain Minho's ship pulled 15 Gs. That could have killed his entire crew. But it didn't. And 3,000 Vren are alive because of it. After the battle, Jinho went to the Daejeon to check on Minho's crew. The ship's doctor reported 2 crew members with minor injuries from the high G burn. Nothing serious. Jinho found Captain Minho in his quarters. That was dangerous, Captain. Yes, sir, but necessary. You could have missed. You could have crashed into the colony yourself. I didn't miss, sir, and the colony is safe. That's what matters. Jinho studied the younger officer. Do you know why humans do this? Why we risk ourselves for others? Because it's right, sir. That's part of it. But there's more. Earth taught us that we're only as strong as the weakest among us. If we use our strength only for ourselves, we're no better than the pirates. Strength has to have purpose. And our purpose is protection? Our purpose is making sure that what we suffered, all those centuries of fighting the planet just to survive, means something. We survived so we could help others survive. The conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission. It was Ambassador Hana calling from Council Station. "Admiral, you need to see this." She played a recording. It was from the Vren colony. The survivors had recorded messages thanking humanity. One young Vren spoke directly to the camera. "The humans came when we called. They saved us. They risked their lives for us. We were wrong to fear them. They are not monsters. They are heroes." Similar messages came from other species. The Yalori sent formal thanks for the earthquake rescue. The Nivians, who had started everything by calling for help months ago, announced they were opening cultural exchanges with Earth. But not everyone was happy. A group of council members, mostly from prey species, lodged a formal protest. They argued that humanity's military actions, even defensive ones, proved they were too dangerous. They wanted Earth's allied member status revoked. The full council had to vote again. Once more, Jinho and Yuna stood in the Grand Chamber. Once more, they faced judgment, but this time, they weren't alone. Ambassador Hana stood with them. So did Captain Thelvara and High Commander Velthar. The opposition speaker, a representative from the insectoid Zari species, made their case. "Humans are too powerful. We've seen their weapons. We've seen their capabilities. They destroyed Kresh ships with ease. They pulled 15 Gs without hesitation. How long before they use that power against us?" Prime Speaker Nathos asked Jinho to respond. "Representative Zari, you're right to fear power without control," Jinho said. "I would fear that too. But you're wrong about humans. Let me tell you about Engineering Chief Nari. She died 3 months ago, manning her post during a battle. She stayed in a radiation-flooded engine room to keep shields protecting civilians. She knew she would die. She did it anyway." He paused. "Let me tell you about Captain Minho. He just pulled 15 Gs to save a colony. He could have killed his entire crew, but he calculated the risks, trained his people, and saved 3,000 lives. Let me tell you about Lieutenant Sora. She spent hours moving rubble so carefully that she wouldn't hurt the fragile beings trapped underneath. She has the strength to crush bone with a handshake, but she chose gentleness." "We are powerful," Jinho admitted. "Earth made us that way. But Earth also taught us that power without responsibility is tyranny. Every human learns this. Every child is taught to be careful with their strength. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But we always choose to help rather than harm." Captain Thelvara spoke next. "I was the first to meet humans in combat. I was terrified. But in the months since, I've learned something important. Humans don't just have strength. They have something rarer, wisdom about how to use it." High Commander Velthar added his voice. "I fought against humans. I lost. But they showed me that victory isn't about dominance. It's about protection. I've requested to train with human forces, not to learn their weapons, but to learn their philosophy. The Council could benefit from that." The debate lasted hours. Finally, the vote was called. This time, the result was different. 115 in favor of keeping Earth as an allied member. Only 28 against. Earth had won. After the vote, Yuna found Jinho alone in an observation deck, looking at the stars. "We did it," she said. "We survived it," Jinho corrected. "Now comes the hard part." "What's that?" "Living up to their trust. They're not afraid of us anymore. Or at least not as afraid. Now they'll rely on us. They'll call us when there's danger. They'll ask us to protect them. Can we do that without becoming what they feared?" Yuna thought about this. Nari could, Minho could, Sora could. All of them made the choice to use their strength for others. We just have to keep making that choice. Every day, Jinho agreed. Every situation. Forever. That's the price of being from Earth? No. That's the privilege of being human. 6 months later, Earth's embassy on Council Station was complete. Ambassador Hana stood at the opening ceremony. Hundreds of alien dignitaries attended. Many species that had feared humans now came to honor them. Captain Thelvara approached Hana. He moved carefully. He was still fragile, still delicate. But he no longer looked afraid. "Ambassador, may I ask something?" "Of course, Captain." "Why do humans help? You don't need anyone. You're strong enough to stand alone. You could have ignored our distress call. You could have rejected the Council's judgment. Why do you keep choosing to protect people who feared you?" Hana smiled. It was a gentle smile, the kind that showed teeth but somehow felt warm. "Because Earth taught us that the strong protect the weak. Not for reward, not because we're ordered to, but because if we don't, who will?" She looked up at the stars visible through the dome. Hundreds of stars, thousands of worlds, millions of beings who were weaker, frailer, more vulnerable than humans. "We spent 1,000,000 years learning to survive on a world that tried to kill us," Hana said. "We're not going to spend the next 1,000,000 becoming the thing others need to survive." Thelvara understood. "You choose compassion. We choose responsibility. Earth gave us strength. That strength comes with obligation. To protect. To help. To be better than our fears." Above the station, construction had begun on a new project, the Galactic Council Defense Academy. Human instructors would teach tactics, strategy, and emergency response. But more importantly, they would teach the philosophy behind it. 300 officers from 70 species had enrolled. They would train at 0.7 G, not as harsh as Earth, but harder than most Council worlds. They would learn that strength came from adversity. That power required restraint. That the greatest victory was the one where everyone survived. Only 12 would complete the program in the first year. But those 12 would return home changed. They would carry human values back to their worlds. The values that said strength exists to protect. That power demands responsibility. That mercy is the ultimate form of strength. And slowly, across the galaxy, the Council species would learn what Earth already knew. What every human child was taught from birth. The strong protect the weak. Not because they have to, but because they choose to. That choice, more than any weapon or ship or technology, was humanity's gift to the galaxy. And it was a gift that would echo through the stars for generations to come. Years later, when human children learned about this time in their history classes, they would remember it as the moment humanity proved itself. Not through conquest or dominance, but through compassion and sacrifice. They would learn about Nari, who died protecting strangers. About Minho, who risked everything to save a colony. About Sora, who showed that gentleness and strength could coexist. About Jinho, who led with wisdom. About Hana, who negotiated with patience. And they would learn the lesson that defined humanity among the stars. We are strong not despite our compassion, but because of it. Earth made them strong, but they chose to be kind, and that choice changed everything.